Let's continue with the same example and we'll complete these two classes. Let's remove this part. Okay. Now we know that a person has a name, address, age, all these properties. So we can write there. Let me create here this method and I'll specify name and age, only these two properties. Let's take this basic example. I'll keep it very simple. So name equals to name, then self dot age equals to age. I'll create one more method here to display these properties. Let's print name self dot name and self dot age. Okay. Now when we say inheritance here, this employee person, so employee will get all the properties. It means we don't have to specify name and age. Employee also have a name and age, right? So let's create here init method. So what are the properties of employee? We specify those properties. Employee has employee ID, salary. Okay, I'll take only these two, and then self dot employee ID and initialize the another property. Okay, but here we must initialize the superclass. So these properties belongs to employee ID and salary belongs to the employee class. But here from here only we must initialize this name and age. We must pass it. So how to do that? Here we can just specify name and age which belongs to person class, and then I can call here the person class init method and pass here self, and name and age will go to this person class. So this way we can pass these two properties which belongs to person class, and this employee ID and salary belongs to this employee class, so it is initialized here only. Now here also I'll create one more method to just to display it. I'll change the name, then I'll come to the method overriding concept. So let's call it display employee, and here I'll print employee ID and salary. So self dot, you can see here we can access salary, employee ID, and we can access name and here age. Okay, so let's call it employee ID self dot age. Now in this example I'll create the instance of employee. So these things we have to pass: name, Avya, age, employee ID and salary. Okay, now let's call this method e1 dot, you can see here display and display employee, both the methods can be accessed from the instance of the employee. So this is in person class and display employee is a part of employee class. Because we are using inheritance here, we can access both through this instance. let's call it, then the other method, and let's test it. You can see this is working. So these properties, in this case it will call this display, which is a part of superclass here, and then this employee ID and this display employee. Now here, if there is a multi-level inheritance and we have so many levels, you cannot write every time these different functions, right? What we can do now, will see how to override a method. Okay. So now we will override the method. What is overriding? We will, now you can see this is again a overriding only. Here you can see init, right? This method is defined in object class. So is overridden. Okay, here again see this is overridden here also, but this method is coming from the object class and we are giving our own definition, because here in this class we have two properties, maybe in another class we have different properties to initialize, so we must override it according to our requirement. Same concept here. Now let's say display method, which is written here. I don't want this definition, I'll give my own definition. So I'll rename this method to display, but when you see that syntax is same, right? Signature is same here, display, and see here, overrides method in person, and here it is overridden in employee. So this is method overriding. Method overriding means the method name and these parameters, everything is same, and we give here different definition. So it's like, okay, this method, because we are using inheritance, will be a part of this class, right? We can directly access this method. So this method is present in this class also, but then we say no, I don't want this definition, I want to give my own definition for this method. So this is method overriding. Now here let me just remove this because it is not a part. Now if I run this program, which method it will call? This employee, this one, or this method which belongs to person class? Because we are overriding, so, and this is the instance of employee, we'll call only the method which belongs to this employee class. Let's run this and you can see here. But then how to access this method which belongs to superclass here? So it's very simple. We use super keyword. So let's go to this method. Here we call super, and then we can access everything belongs to superclass. See here, age, name, these things are from the superclass, and one of the method is display. So inside that we call, so how it will work? First, when we call this method, it will call the super display, which is in a person class. Here it will print name and age, then it will print the properties that belongs to this particular class, subclass. Now run this and you can see I am able to print the properties that belongs to the superclass, and this is for the subclass. This is method overriding, and a very basic small example of inheritance, single inheritance, where employee get all the properties from the person class. Okay, just to because it's a very basic example, we can use some, there is another way of getting these properties. Okay, here I'm just printing just to show you how it works. Now let's come to this init method. Now we know how to call the methods from the superclass. We can use super keyword here. Now instead of this person and dot init, I can use this method. So let me call this super. Now who is the super of this class? It's a person. press dot and see we can access this init name, init function. Now here we don't have to specify self. I can directly specify name and age. Now here when you call this init method with the help of class name, we have to specify this self. This is without self. Specify name and age. So this way we can call the properties or method of the superclass. Now let's run this and test. And see, it works. The same output. This is a preferred method because this init method belongs to superclass, right? But this method can be useful when there are multiple classes here. Then we can specify which class it belongs to.